Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of The Other Side of Addiction. I'm your host, Al Richards. And before we introduce our guests, I just want to give a huge shout out and a huge thank you to Emergo Academy, who is our main sponsor here for The Other Side of Addiction. Emergo Academy, you guys have heard me talk about this every week in and week out. Man, the brain first approach is something that has literally changed my life. Now, I took the course to actually be certified as a crisis and recovery coach. However, the stuff that Dave and Susan Kenny teach is stuff for everyday life. It really teaches you a lot about how the brain works and how we can actually control the brain instead of the brain controlling us, which I have found to be just a huge tool for myself. And I really do feel like it would be a huge tool for a lot of other. You guys know about my 2025 having a below the knee amputation, losing my wife 4 weeks after that. I really do give a lot of credit, of course, to my higher power, but also to the tools that I learned by taking their course at Emergo Academy. So, guys, check them out if you're interested. Even if you're curious, check them out. It's EMERGO Academy.com, emergoacademy.com. Love you guys. Thank you for your sponsorship, and we really appreciate your support. So, without further ado, we have Eli Singer on the show today. And Eli actually is the author of this book, Offline.now, which I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about it. But today we're going to be talking about digital dependency. So, Eli, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be with us. I really do appreciate it.
No, it's a pleasure to be here. Great to meet you, Al. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, first of all, what is digital dependency in your book?
Yeah, and so I think the lens there, because we take sort of a coaching mindset approach. So you think about your relationship you have with the screens in your life. Maybe that's your phone, maybe that's a gaming system, or maybe it's something that you do on that device, like online shopping or online dating. And do you feel you just can't control that behavior? Do you feel that behavior controls you? It's almost impulsive. It's a pattern that you can't seem to let go of. And so that's a great way to jump into that. Some people might call it digital addiction. Some people might call it problem technology use. Some people might just say, I'm using my phone way too much. How can I work on that?
Yeah, I've had quite a few friends in the past year actually tell me, hey, they'll even do a post, say, hey, you're not going to see me on here as much anymore because I realized it was consuming too much of my life. And I've actually realized a lot of that too, even though I do a lot of stuff on social media for promotion and different things like that. But you get those little records that they keep track, and it was showing that I was doing about 3.5, sometimes 4 hours um, a week or a day on my digital stuff. And I'm going, oh my hell, I did not realize it was adding up to that much. So we actually get consumed with what's going on.
Yeah, and what you just said at the outset there, that you saw some friends posting like, "Hey, you won't see me for a while." That is just a fantastic strategy, because when people decide, "Hey, I'm gonna step away from my device or my social network in the evening, on the weekends, on Sunday, at dinner time, while on vacation," it can be really hard if you feel like you're missing a lot of these like messages, or that people are expecting you to get back to them. So if you want to increase your likelihood of being successful, letting the people around you know that you're not going to be around and why is really helpful. It kind of relieves some of the stress. But the same can be telling people at work, I won't be responding till messages after 5 p.m. until tomorrow, right? Just setting that expectation relieves some of the stress and makes the disconnection from that screen easier.
Absolutely. When my wife was alive, we used to do a breakfast like every Sunday morning. That was kind of like,
Mm.
and we sometimes would go out to dinner on a Saturday evening as well. And one day we got looking around the restaurant, and I asked her, I says, do you notice something here in the restaurant? She's like what? And I'm just look around and just check things out. And she's looking around and she actually caught it. She goes, almost everyone's on their phone.
Yeah.
I'm like, I know. And I says, and you and I are just as guilty, right? We sit down at a restaurant, we get on our phones and we start paying attention to stuff. And so we actually made a pact that same night that whenever her and I went out to dinner or for breakfast, Our phones stay away. We don't even touch our phones. Even if it rings, we don't touch our phone because that time was for her and I to sit and talk. And it worked out really, really well. And unfortunately, um, since she is no longer here, I've kind of gotten right back into that same old habit
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, it's helpful when you have it sort of institutionalized within a relationship and normalized behavior because it's a slippery slope. Like you might not want to get on your phone, but when your partner or the person you're hanging out with does, then all of a sudden there's this social awkwardness. And how do I fill that space? I better just scroll around too.
Yeah.
And so there's strength in numbers. But you're right, these devices are part of our daily lives and they sneak their way in. So that experience you had in that restaurant is the same experience on public transit, right? As it is in the movie theater before the movie shows up. Like you just pick that situation, and it seems that the device can be a default behavior for just filling blank time. Um, and so it's good, like first step is let's just bring some awareness to that, and then objectively try to take how do we is that okay? And if the answer is yes, keep using it. And if you're like, well, maybe I shouldn't be using this right now, well, then let's talk about that too.
Yeah.
My approach really on this one, I think, is a little different than most because there's a lot of rule-based behaviors out there. Don't put it in your bedroom. Don't eat it at dinner table. Not when you're right. Only so many hours a day or your brain's going to turn to mush. But once you start setting up rules, then all of a sudden it's pass fail. And everybody's life is different, right? Like I've spoken to many, I use this example all the time. If you're the first caregiver for like a parent who's ill and they could call you at any point in time, then having the phone in your bedroom or access to a device is a must have. So all of these rules can make someone who's like trying to have a healthy balance feel like really off base because they're torn. They can't. There's no middle ground in these rule-based scenarios, and rule-based scenarios don't work in real life usually.
Yeah. Everything you just explained, Eli, just even reminds me of the addiction world,
Yeah.
right? Oh, so many individuals that have gone through recovery. I mean, I heard this even from my past partner, is that I'm tired of living my life by everybody else's rules. And my co-founder who I was on the phone with just as you jumped on,
Mm,
you know, she battled with some addiction back in the days too, and she's doing extremely well. I think 19 years clean now, and just doing amazing. And when she sat down with a gentleman that really helped her get her life going, he said, "What do I got to get you to realize that your life is worth it?" And she goes, "I don't want to be forced into recovery. I want to be inspired into recovery."
right.
And he switched it. And so with you talking about the rules, right? I don't think any of us like rules to be forced upon us, but when
Right.
we sit with ourselves and go, "Hey, this could be a plus for us." Is that what got you into doing what you were doing now and write this book?
I think that I'm a bit of it's a little ironic. Like I founded one of North America's first social media agencies. Back when the web was about building community, I built blogs for like the Museum of Modern Art and nonprofits and big companies. But I never really used social media myself because I never really liked how it made me feel. And I was really a keen observer of digital culture. And then as I saw the web evolve and become about attention harvesting, and we saw the results of the court case last week. Whether you agree or disagree, or this week disagree with digital addiction, a jury felt that there were some strategies taken by YouTube and Meta that made those activities a little more harder to put down. I don't like to anyway, so just I always want to guard my words when I talk about addiction and alleged court cases. But I think there's a general societal agreement that we're spending so much time with these devices, and my experience being on the inside of digital marketing and seeing it within my family, and then moving into coaching with neurodiversity focus and speaking to a lot of coaches and therapists, I just felt there was a gap. And I've throughout my career, I've had lots of unique experiences, and I happen to work on a book as a lead researcher on two by two matrices and how they're a tool for developing insights and decision making. And so the heart of the Offline Now book is the Offline Now matrix, which is a self-evaluation tool, which helps you understand where you're at in terms of changing your relationship with your device and gives you a bit of a roadmap to go there. So that's the long answer to your question. I guess the short answer is I really feel like there's an opportunity for give people positive resources, and I wanted to do it, so I did it.
That is awesome. And again, thank you so much, for sending this book to me. I really do appreciate it. And I will read it, and I'll reach out to your assistant and definitely let him know when I read it and what I think of it. So really now, I mean, how long have you been doing this where you've been sitting down with individuals and coaching people through this?
You know, I think informally I've been doing this for over 20 years
Wow.
because I've always been navigating digital device, digital strategy, work-life balance, both at an individual level, running a company, having employees. I designed the social media guidelines for, well, many different organizations. And so there's a lot of balancing public and private in there. I think, and then as a parent, of course, raising kids who were always the last to get phones in their class and, really felt that they were being shortchanged with the weird parents. But, ultimately they do have a really strong sense of media balance and digital awareness, whether or not they always practice those
Yeah.
behaviors. Um, so I think that really the insights in the book are a distillation of over 20 years of experience. I would say, good question. I haven't been asked this before. I'm reflecting on it in real time.
Okay. Well, 20 years, that's quite a long time. I
I
mean,
think it, yeah, I think that's what it is ultimately. And a unique perspective. So, because I have not had formal addictions training, although I've taken many courses around problem technology use and ADHD and coaching methodologies, and a lot of people and friends I know are therapists. So there's a lot of methodologies broke in, but I think that truly what differentiates what you said earlier about your friend wanting, like, how do I want to rescue myself, is at the heart of this book in many ways, because what we're doing is we're asking people to self-evaluate two questions, one on motivation, one on confidence. Like, how motivated are you to change your relationship with your screen or go to bed early or stop doom scrolling? You pick your goal, but how motivated are you, and how self-confident are you in your ability to do it when you want to? And what that does is gives you a low and a high, or a 1 to 6 on each one of those answers, and it drops you into one of four types: overwhelmed, ready, stuck, and unconcerned. And then each one of those has a little roadmap. And what's interesting is we found over 80% of the people that have taken the survey on the site have shown up with a high motivation marker. It's just what they're working on is confidence. So what we found is people have the motivation. They, for the most part, they want to make a change. They believe they're worth investing in. They believe there are other things that it could be their family, it could be a skill, it could be, other aspects of themselves that they want to develop further. But what they're lacking is their self-confidence and ability to do it. And so what we're turning around with the very specific tone in the book is telling people, or helping them realize that they're good, that they're able to do it, that they've got the skills. And what the four types do is help match the intervention with their mindset. So gives them the right starting place, right? So if you've never gone to the gym before and you decide, hey, I want to go to the gym, if you go every day for 4 hours and just like go right to advanced strategies and tactics, you're going to hurt yourself. You're going to become demotivated. And you're never going to go back. Versus like build your way up and like know that like there's going to be hard times and pain and mental skill required that need to be developed over time. And it's the exact same with the device. You just remove the willpower component and make it not about willpower and make it about developing a skill and a habit over time. And sometimes you'll be successful and you'll feel it and be excited. And sometimes you won't meet your expectations, but that's not failure, that's data gathering. And so
Yeah.
we're just like reframing it all.
Yeah. Well, very well put. And again, it's so crazy how so many things fall underneath the umbrella of like addiction and resiliency and motivation and all that, right? Because it's it's the baby steps and celebrating those baby steps. It's like
Yeah.
you don't have to take one big old chunk off it at a time. And I really do feel that's where a lot of people, I won't say fail, because I don't really care for that word, but it's where they get to where they do have the motivation, like you say, but then it pulls them away from that because they just feel like they took on too much that they can chew, which most of the
Yeah.
time we do.
Right.
I had to have my clinician after I lost my leg below the knee amputation, and I remember him telling me this every single week when I went in to see him. He's like, remember the story of the tortoise and the hare.
Yeah.
And he ingrained that into my mind. And he's like, Al, this is a process. He goes, he goes, the tortoise won the race, right? And I'm like, yeah. And he says, why did the tortoise run the race? Because he took his time, right? He
Yeah.
wasn't trying to go balls to the wall per se right off the bat. And it's really helped me in my progress, and it's helped me with my everyday life, to somebody who was like, I'm going after it and I'm giving it everything I have and I'm going full speed, to where I've really learned how now to back myself off a little bit
Yeah.
and take these baby steps.
Yeah. I think that's great. I mean, I think that the narrative around people's relationships with the screens does everybody a disservice because it doesn't recognize how much of a challenge it is. It puts the blame on companies, it puts the blame on schools, it puts the blame on teens or the gaming companies or the parents, and then sets out expectations of what the science says. If you spend too much time on X, then your brain's going to mush.
Yeah.
And people try to like, oh, I better stop. But they set themselves a screen time restriction, and every time they exceed that, and it says, "Do you want more time?" You click yes. There's like a little bit of "I'll never be able to do this" that happens again. And so I think I had a thought. I might have lost it. I think it's gone, but it was a good one.
It'll come back.
It'll come back. Um, oh yeah, the expectation that it's going to be easy to change a relationship with a screen that you've had for over a decade. These are intimate relationships. People sleep with their phones, they use them on their commute, they take them with them to the bathroom. These are behaviors that are ingrained in your lives. And when you look at a family, there are dynamics around couples and children and teens and how the screens work into the family relationships and individual relationships. And sometimes it's about the relationship with the phone, but sometimes it's deeper. So to treat this as like a surface area, you should just put it away and you should be able to do that. It's just not fair. It's not fair to set that expectation with people.
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And even going back to, the self-confidence and the motivation, um, when you was talking about that, the word fear kept coming up in my head, right? Because I, I, I feel, again, this is just my view of it, not saying because you're the professional, but saying I think a lot of people possibly have that fear of, can I get through a day without looking at my
Yeah.
phone, right? Because, um, I mean, I remember, my past partner, she said to me once, what if I told you you could never have ice cream ever again the rest of your life? And of course I played it off differently. It's like, well, what you're dealing with is totally different than what I'm dealing with, but she was 100% right. And I think a lot of people feel that too, is like, my gosh, my life would be over if I didn't have my phone with me all the time. So do you think
Yeah.
a lot of fear has to be involved with this also?
Um, I think I actually gravitate towards more shame than
Shame.
fear.
Okay.
I
Oh,
think there's like a lot of shame. I think that people are at the dinner table and their whole family's on the device and like they know something's wrong. It doesn't feel right, but it's a really hard behavior to change at an individual level and at as a group level. So I personally, it's not fear. Personally, there's like shame and there's also judgment, others,
Okay.
judgment of others. Those are the ones that come to mind. You know, we're finding, because we collect the data when people conduct the survey online, and we're finding that 51% of people fall into that overwhelmed type, which is high motivation, low self confidence. Now, I could get into more granular detail, like into the data of it, because it's actually 9 different possible places in that type. But over what that means is that people want to make a change and they don't really know how. And maybe they are experiencing that fear that I can't go a whole day without my phone. And so when you're overwhelmed, the goal is not to stop using your device. The goal is to build your self confidence. So the initial few steps that you want to take are not about your relationship with your device. It's around changing your mindset that you can do this. And so the goal actually is to set yourself some initial interventions that you can guarantee that you're going to be successful at. You need it, they shouldn't be hard. The goal is to guarantee that you can do it because you're trying to change those brain pathways. So if that means it's too hard for me not to have my phone with me at dinner, right? Or at lunch. So I'm going to turn it upside down during lunch, right? I'm going to put it on the table on the counter. Or I'm going to leave the phone at home and go for a walk to the end of the block and then back to my house. It's just 3 minutes. Can I leave the house without my phone even if it's for 3 minutes? Great. I'll try that once on a Monday after dinner. Can I do that every day? Right? Am I now able to go for a walk that's 5 minutes? Right? How can you expand upon that? But you have to be specific about it and it has to work in your life. Because if you live in Toronto like I do, that experiment is not going to work so it's not going to be so fun to go out for a minute in the middle of February when it's freezing cold,
Yeah.
right? And or some people just where they live, it might be too hot, like in California right now. And but what we find is if you're overwhelmed, the trick is to choose the times of day when you're feeling most ready. And what our data is saying that that's generally after dinner until around bedtime. So if it's really hard for you to get away from your device, that's the window where it's going to be easiest. That and about 11 in the morning. Don't try to reset your relationship with your phone like on a weekday at 2 to 3 in the afternoon. Don't try after 11 or at midnight where it's like you've been doom scrolling for hours. If you're overwhelmed, don't even try on Friday. Friday is like the most overwhelmed day of the week, according to our data. On those moments, just say to yourself, oh, I want to stop using this thing. I'm feeling pretty overwhelmed. I don't think I can. Let me just like take a minute and notice that feeling for next time and keep going. Don't even try. Right.
Yeah.
And then channel that energy at a time when you're feeling like at 5 to 8 p.m. on most weekdays and all day on Sunday.
Those are really good points. And I was thinking even too, like for my own personal stuff, you know, I was probably the only person in the gym in the morning that still was using my little iPod for music. Everyone else is
We're the
using
same. We're totally
everyone
the same.
everyone using their phone, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've had it for so long, it's that to where my battery just doesn't last as long anymore, even charging it. I'd get in a half hour after into my workout, it's already starting to die. And then I don't like the gym music. I like my own type of music. So I finally broke down and started using my phone. And I'm thinking there's been a couple times when I've left my phone at home and gone to the gym and I'm like, oh shit, what am I going to do now? Oh, my workout. Is my workout going to be the same, right? Those
Yeah.
thoughts going through your
Yeah.
head. And you realize you get through it okay. And I even remember the first time, my gosh, it was many years ago, but I remember the first time I left my phone at home and realized it after we were miles away from the house and like almost feeling like I was going to have an anxiety attack because it's like, what if I miss a call? Oh my gosh, I got this person that's going to call. Oh my, I'm waiting for this email. And then I had to stop and tell myself, I grew up in the era where you miss phone calls, right? I remember if the phone
Yeah.
was ringing when you walked
Yeah.
in the house, you ran and dashed for the phone. And then, if you missed it, they hung up. And then, of course, then we had the answering machines, which made things easier. But at a big time in my life, the majority of my life, we did not have what we have now. And it's like, I got along just fine back then.
Yeah.
Why can I not do it now?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, life changes, right?
Yeah.
I was born in 77, so I also had a bit of a like the birth of the internet was when my late teens. So that was like an interesting bridge experience. But I want to go back to your conversation about the gym
Okay.
because I'm a guy that lives in my head. And I'm also a guy that loves music, right? Like that's what gets my brain going and I need it. But having music connected to my phone is bad because sometimes when I want to zone out, like I like to listen to music first thing in the morning to get my day off on the right foot while I have coffee before I touch anything work related. Um, and in the gym, I need to focus. If I get an email or a text message that gets me working again, that's it. The workout's finished.
Hmm.
I can't get it back. And so I bought a dedicated music player and like but like the super one because it's got like high resolution music because that's like what I like. I love very detailed music, but
Yeah.
it has no features. It's just amazing at one thing. And so when you look at trying to structure your life around changing your relationship with your phone, the goal is not anti-tech, right? Like, how are you going to solve for things that will give you still the experience that you need to move on, but also remove some of the items that you don't want? Like, so for the people that the caregiver I was talking about earlier, she was stuck. And I said, well, why don't you just buy yourself like a old school telephone that's actually like a costume Bluetooth handset? And you can keep that by your bed. So it looks like you've got like a phone with a handset by your bed, and it will ring when your mom calls you at 3 in the morning if she needs help. But it doesn't have email or anything, and it won't have any alerts. And if you wake up at 2 in the morning and it's not there for a quick check.
Yeah.
And it's like unbelievable. Like we think of the phone that does everything, so we need it with us because it's always doing everything. But like some things it's really bad at. And sometimes those things are playing music and making phone calls, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, curious, what is it that you do with your life to help control? Because, I mean, at the beginning of the show, you're talking about, oh my gosh, you do a lot of different things, right? You got a plethora
Yeah.
that you do and take care of. I mean, you're a busy individual. How do you pace yourself and how do you because it may give somebody an idea, right? One of our listeners an idea going, huh, maybe I need to look at doing this.
I'm like a bit of an anomaly. I mean, my music player is the helpful thing that works for me. I'll make lists and things like that, but I'm actually going the other way. I never really used social media at all. And now that I have this business, I actually, as much as I tried to structure the whole thing so I didn't have to be a public person or use any social media, I actually have to creep into it. So it was very hard for me to start posting on LinkedIn, which is the only social network that I use, barely. I don't comment or like anything. I just post my stuff and walk away. Um, but I'm being told that I need to be on like Instagram or YouTube. It was a big deal for me to even start talking on podcasts. So I'm I'm now wrestling with the fact that the internet and devices are pushing harder into my life than I've let them. And it's not my favorite thing in the world. Um, and so I actually, because I'm growing a business, I need to work more. and I got a wife and kids. So I can't, I gotta want to be a parent. So I actually have to wake up an hour and a half earlier to get more time in my day. So I'm not taking away from time with others. So I don't, I play video games with my son because he likes sports games. And the data actually shows that kids want their parents to play video games with them. That's how they like to hang out. So
Hmm.
we play a whole bunch of sports games together, and that's fun. So in some ways, my challenge has not been keeping devices and the internet at bay. My challenge is letting them in more.
Got it. Got it. And keeping it controlled, right? Where you feel like you still have a handle on it.
Yeah, I have a real aversion to being on social media because I don't want to let that into my brain in terms of how many likes did I get? How many shares did I get? Did people comment? This post didn't do as well. I don't want to let any of that in my head.
Yeah.
And and I don't want to I just don't want to spend my time doing it. And I don't want to pay anyone to do it either because I don't think it's that important or interesting. But
Yeah.
it seems that that's where everything's happening these days. So I got to figure out how to square that circle. I'm working on
Well,
that.
thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I do appreciate that.
It's
I
fun.
it is fun. I mean, I read an article once that somebody was saying that people are too afraid of being bored. Like back in the days before we had all this digital stuff in front of us, someone showed a picture of once. It's like, well, this is what they used to do back in the 1930s and 1950s, and showed all these people sitting down at a restaurant or in a barber shop, and they're all reading the paper, right? And then it showed nowadays that everybody's got their phone in front of them. And somebody mentioned that they felt that people are too afraid of being bored and sitting with their own thoughts. So they always use their digital stuff to keep their mind occupied. And after I read it, I started really wanting to look and keep an eye open and just see what people were doing. So like if I walked into an appointment for, I don't know, a haircut, or let's say if I had a physical therapy appointment or something like that, people in the waiting room, they're all on their phones. So I have decided, and I've been working on this. I don't do it all the time because I'm still working. I'm still training those neurons to change differently. But would I go in and sit down? So like I just had shoulder surgery. So twice a week I go into physical therapy, and I go in and I check in and then I sit down and I do everything I can to keep my phone in my pocket and not sit there and be on my phone, to where I'm actually just sitting there with my own thoughts going, okay, what do I do? Now there's magazines, right? I could pick up a magazine and look at a magazine, which that's pretty healthy, I guess, but a lot of the stuff isn't very interesting to me, the magazines that they have. But I have found even myself how difficult that is even for me to sit there, and I'm one who I even preach about it, really, in all honesty, about learning how to sit with our own thoughts and our own emotions, because I feel like society has us believing that we're weak if we do that. And I really feel like that's a huge strength for us to be able to learn how
Mm.
to sit with our thoughts, and instead of and just using our phones as the excuse of why we're not able to do that.
Well, I think that there's a lot in here, right? I think that our devices have taught us and culture more broadly that constant stimulation, is what's expected. And so, whether it's the scroll, the swipe, the sound effect in the mobile game, the flashing lights, whatever it is, it's it's a mini dopamine hit. And even television, media, headlines, the pace of it all, right? Like I constantly have to be up to date. I constantly have to be participating. If I'm not, I need to be present. So it does not strike me as surprising that like outside of context of a device, your brain is still looking for that hit, right? And where am I going to get it from? I think there are other factors as well. of in-person communication, being, you know, interfacing with, you know, stores, people, just in general, that like interaction, non-digital interaction
Yeah.
can be really intimidating for some people and uncomfortable for them. And so, and then to layer in also, like you said, being uncomfortable with your own thoughts, right? It could be, there's so many things going on in the world. So I think it's just a little bit of a, um, like a tempest. It's like all of these factors are kind of meeting and colliding with every individual's like own experience and situation, and it makes it difficult to just slow down and be present. It makes it hard.
Yeah. And I really feel like Eli, you really hit the nail on the head with the constant stimulation. I think
Yeah,
society just feels like we got to constantly have that, as you said, a slight that little dopamine hit on a constant basis to help us get through our day. It kind of goes back to a lot of people who are addicted to energy drinks, right? It's that
yeah,
show power bang, that my gosh, here I go and I got so much more energy. And of course, there always is a crash. I think no matter what you do, there's always a crash behind it.
yeah. I'll tell you also that so we're producing lots of resources on our website. We have, I'll tell you about the website in a bit, but the content that is the most shared or read is around relationships and intimacy and ADHD. But as it relates to relationships and intimacy, it's just clear that people are feeling alone, whether they're in partnerships or dating or married or in families. Like people are just feeling like they cannot, or they're having challenges connecting, or their partner doesn't want to meet them where they want to be met. It's just, and you can just tell it's out there. It's not just in the public sphere, like on buses and in waiting rooms. It's on living room couches and in beds, when like people are just sitting next to each other or lying next to each other and on their phones, as opposed to spending time together. And so this is, it's very real.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you brought that up. And I just want to give my daughter and her husband kudos because, they're, let's see, my daughter's in her mid 30s, my son-in-law is early 40s. And I lived with them for about 2.5 months after I lost my leg. And I got to see really how they live their lives, and they got, my gosh, three beautiful kids. I mean, my grandkids are just amazing. And it's really cool because they've built their houses like the smart house, right? It's even the kids, hey Alexa, turn on the TV, or
Mm-hmm.
Alexa, play this song for me, and they have all this digital stuff, which is pretty cool. But I've also got to experience how they have kept themselves from getting way deep in it. It's like my little grandson, he loves playing video games also. He's going to be what, 10 in July. And he loves sitting down and he'll ask his dad, hey dad, you want to play some video games with me? And his dad's like, yeah, we'll play for 30 minutes. And he has that time frame that they play for 30 minutes.
Yeah,
And what really amazed me though with my son-in-law is after they got done playing the video game, he's like, all right, let's go outside. And my grandson is a soccer freaking nut. This kid
right.
breathes, sleeps soccer. And then they're out in the backyard and they're working on different kicks and they're practicing passing and stuff. So
Yep.
it's like they got their little digital time and now they've got that one-on-one family time outside, which
Yeah.
I
No,
found
but you know what?
very
But I'm going to
impressive.
call you on that right there.
Okay.
That digital time is one-on-one family time. They're
Yeah,
hanging
so
out.
true.
They're
Yeah.
hanging out playing, they're talking. Like I have great conversations with my son when we're playing NHL,
Hmm.
right? They're hanging out. They're, you know, I always say to people, you want to spend quality time with someone, you do it on their terms, which, I want to go, if I want to hang out with my mom, we're going to go do some shopping. I don't
Yeah.
care if I need anything. We're going to go do some shopping because she loves doing that. And so, hey, play video games with your kid, get an insight into their world. They'll probably talk to you about what's going on a little more freely.
Good point.
Have fun. And it's fun. Like they're video games, right? Like it's a game, just like soccer's a game. And navigating a 3D world using complex controllers, their mechanics, like learning that as dexterity. Like I remember 30 years ago, like the people that made the best laser eye surgeons were like the best video gamers because laser eye surgery is like hitting a target,
Yeah.
right? And so it's a skill. Develop a skill. Develop a hockey skill, develop a video gaming skill. Great. So yeah, I just want to, because there's a value judgment in that, like video game bad, inside, outdoor playing soccer good, both good in moderation,
Yeah. Well,
you
thank you
know?
for calling me out on that because yes, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, and I have to agree with you. It's 100% because that time is still being set, or given to each person. And
I often think that like in 25 years from now, I will be able to play video game. Like playing video games with my son now is just as much being able to say in 20 years we can play video games together and still have fun and hang out. Like it's something we can do to hang out.
yeah, yeah. See, I got myself scared of video games because back in the days, I got addicted to Sonic. It's like
Right.
I'm gonna get all these diamonds and I'm working myself up. And
Yeah.
remember my wife said one time, she goes, I am sick and tired of you playing this damn game. She goes, as soon as you come home from work, you shower, you get cleaned up, and then you're on this damn game. And I'm outside weeding the garden and doing things like that. I got a little pissy about it for a long time. And then I realized, oh my hell, she's right.
Yeah.
I am living and breathing this game because I'm damn and determined I'm going to beat it, right?
Yeah.
And so I gave up on it. I stopped doing it. But also, I do remember back in my early teens, still in high school, and this was back in the late 70s, early 80s, right? I graduated in 81. But I mean, I remember working at a grocery store here called Smith's Food Kings here in Salt Lake City. And as soon as we got off work, man, we were getting our quarters and we're playing Space Invaders or ask.
Right.
I mean, that hand-eye coordination was amazing, right? So, and a lot of people, I mean, I have heard that a lot of these top gamers have been used for like different things for like NASA and different things like that.
Oh,
Because,
for sure. And it's cutting edge tech.
yeah.
And they're billion-dollar games. Some of them look so cool, but I know I could never play. It's too complicated. But it's just so it just yeah, I think it's just bringing up balance to the conversation. And the other thing your son was doing or son-in-law that was really great is that setting the expectation before the activity starts about when it's going to finish. And then when it's done, immediately moving on. Because what happens if that's not done, and it can be very bad, um, is that the child can become explosive, the parent becomes a police officer, and there's a war, right? You walk into a kid's bedroom, oh, it's 9 o'clock, give me your phone. Whoa, 10 more minutes, 5 more minutes. The battle lines are drawn, right? Because now it's me versus you,
Yeah.
and it's a power struggle. It's so it can be hard. And there was a news story a couple weeks ago, a horrible one about some 11-year-old kid that like allegedly shot his father for taking away a Nintendo Switch.
Oh
But
my.
I'll tell you, I've seen explosive reactions, period. You don't need to have guns involved. There's screaming, there's yelling, it's bad. So the best practice is around setting expectations beforehand, depersonalizing it. It's 30 minutes. It's not me versus you. The clock beeped. That was the time. And then immediately moving on to another activity so that there isn't like conflict around what happens next. The void of time it could be brushing your teeth, eating dinner, doing homework, whatever it is, but then also allowing for there to be a transition time because people need mentally to be able to switch gears,
Yeah.
right? Like you can use up a lot of energy and be after using, right? A lot of require like it could be a lot of work. So dynamics, communicating with people, it could be just like your brain is sort of like slowing down and in a trance because it's just been scrolling. Anyways,
Yeah, I love that. And your screen froze
I
up.
got I got an internet unstable. Did I squeeze? Did you lose me or did the audio keep
No,
going?
no, the audio is still going. Yeah, I didn't lose you, thank goodness. But sometimes
All
it
right.
happens, you know. It's happened on my end just as well, but I'm sure it'll connect. But yeah, it's very well put. You know, I'm really really glad, Eli, that you reached out and came on the show to talk about this because this is something really different, but yet it's also, at least in my eyes, it falls underneath that same umbrella of what my show is really mostly about, you know, because we're all battling something, right? And it's all in our heads, right? It doesn't matter if it's digital dependency, if it's a alcohol addiction, a drug addiction, a gambling addiction, an eating addiction, whichever one it is. You know, it's learning how to take these different steps and retrain our brain and our mind to go in a different direction, you know, to help us.
Agreed. So may I just share with you a little bit about what we're building on the website that might be of you?
Please do.
Yes, great.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So what we're looking to do is build a resource for people who want to make change in your lives, but also for the professionals who can help them. So Offline.now, we're building the world's largest directory of therapists, coaches, social workers. We have addiction specialists. We have eating disorder specialists. We have recreational therapists that have the ability to support people who want to change their relationships with screens. And you can, if you're one of those professionals, please come and list for free. You just join and put in your email address and build a profile, go for it. And then if you're looking for help, you can go find a professional and you can make direct contact and get in touch with them and book them. And we're just facilitating that connection. There's no fees for anybody involved in this. It's about growing and supporting an independent community of practitioners who want to help everyday people with this issue and with other related issues.
I love that. And is this something that you came up with, Eli, that just you're
Yeah,
like, hey, I just want to come up with something that's going to help individuals, that it's not
yeah.
going to cost them anything, but something that, you know, giving back basically is what you're doing.
Yeah, we'll figure out the business model along the way, but right now we're just going to focus on building the community. And yeah, I mean, it's like I said, I love the internet. I love the way it brings people together and creates things. I didn't really love it for a while because it kind of turned a little gross to me, but I'm using just all of the strategies and tactics that help me be successful professionally with like this audience and this issue. And so we're building out of the University of Toronto, affiliated with the Medical School Accelerator and the Continuing Education Accelerator, trying to get as much science backed insight driving behind this thing. And we're inviting people to promote their businesses and their insights. Everybody in the community can publish on the website, and podcasters, authors, coaches, all kinds of people from all over the world. And so we invite
Well,
you and your community to join as well.
you know, my coaches, who I talked about at the beginning of the show,
Hmm.
Ebergo Academy, they're in Canada also.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Where are they based?
Um, I do
You
not
don't know.
remember. I do.
Okay. Well, yeah, that sounds
They're
great. Would
good
love to
friends
meet
of
them.
mine. You would think I would know, but yeah, if you check out Emergo Academy, yeah, they're based out of Canada. Just
Cool.
yeah, they became my coaches, so they did like you did. They had an assistant that reached out to me, and I checked out their website, and I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, I'd love to have these guys on the show, and we ended up just becoming really really good friends. And then next thing I knew, they're my coaches. Matter of fact,
Yeah. Yeah.
I do them all the time. But yeah.
So that was a very meaningful introduction sponsorship message you did at the beginning, and I was thinking I better check these guys out because they sound like they're really on top of their stuff.
They are, and they are actually just starting up something new too. They have taken all their plethora of years of doing like sober living and all this other stuff,
Hmm.
which that went away when, you know, C-19 came in, and but they're coming up now with something that they're calling the Power 70. And they've taken a lot of their old work and also a lot of the new stuff that they have found, and also their studies how the brain works also. and they're coming up with a whole new way. As a matter of fact, our first introduction is actually going to be Sunday. We're all meeting at 11 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, which is basically Canada's time as well.
Mm.
I think we're on the same time zone. At least I am with them. But yeah, they're going to start sharing it. So yeah, you might want to check them out. And
Yeah,
they're probably neighbors of yours, and you don't even know it. But they are very intelligent, very smart. They're very good at what they do, and it's a husband and wife, and they're just an amazing couple. I just love them to death. Besides them being my coaches, they're really very good friends of mine, which is really cool.
fantastic. Okay, well, I'll be looking them up, and we can talk more about this after we press pause on the recording. I'm sure listeners don't need to have us like
Uh,
working our calendars,
yeah,
but
right. Hey, it happens. That's what my listeners love about the show is it's raw. Whatever goes, it goes, you know. Is there any
that's cool. I like that. No, this is an enjoyable conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Is
Is
there
there
anything
any?
else, that you feel is important that these listeners should know about, and even how they can find you, right? I mean, we've got the offline.now, right? They can find you, but you
Yeah, offline.now is the website. They
eh,
can come to the website. The email goes to me. The book is fantastic. Order it on Amazon or through the website. And I'd love to hear what you think about it. And if you're a therapist and coach, you can come and sign up on the site and publish some blog posts, and I'll help you build your audience. And I'm looking forward to communicating with anybody who wants to help advance this issue globally.
I love that. Yeah, so much. And good for you for what you're doing. And also thank you for doing what you're doing, man. Really appreciate it. Because, and I know you already know this, Eli, we cannot do it alone, right? We have to have
Mhm.
some help us. I always like to say the higher power because we're just vessels and we're just passing on information and as that we're learning. But it takes a lot of us to work together to get to a certain point, and I feel like when we're doing that, everyone succeeds.
Yeah, I'm on that front.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
All right, buddy. Well, again, Eli, thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it, and thank you again for reaching out. This has been a great show. You have shared some really good insight on some stuff, and I hope I do it justice when I make the post and put my stuff
I'm
in.
sure it's going to be fantastic. Thanks so much, Al. I really appreciate your great questions and being here with you and spending time.
Absolutely. Well, again, I just want to say thank you to Emergo Academy. Thank you, Dave and Susan Kenny. I love and appreciate you guys. Again, that's Emergo Academy. I want to say also thank you to our past guests and our future guests that are coming on. And I've been sharing this lately, guys. I am working at possibly rebranding the show and changing the name a little bit so it fits more in with my coaching and other things like that. But again, we'll just see where it goes. And then also, hey, I want to start throwing out there too, guys. We are planning our sixth Healing Utah Success Summit. It's going to be held on October 3rd, Saturday, October 3rd. We don't have the location yet, but you guys will hear me talk a little bit more about that. We've got some really great speakers that's coming in, and we just spoke. Matter of fact, I just spoke with somebody, a Dr. Sarah out of California. She's really interested in flying up from California to be one of our speakers. My good friend, Dr. Rob Kelly, with the sound bath or the sound box. Yeah, he's out of Texas. He's actually flying up and he's going to be speaking at our event. And this sound box is something that's really amazing. They're getting about a 99.9% success rate with this sound box, and it's all subliminal type messaging. But again, I just want to say thank you to everyone. And most of all, thank you to all my listeners. You guys are the ones that's keeping this show going. I really do appreciate you. And remember this, we're going to end it at the end of the show as we do all the time. Remember, addiction is giving up everything for one thing, and recovery is giving up one thing for everything. See ya.